by film.
5,
Stand by music.
4,
Stand by announce.
3, 2, 1.
And fade up.
They're the Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks of Hobbs. American public, you are worthless.
Can't account for taste.
Nice. Your teaser from earlier on the loose adaptation.
The Human Torch was denied a bankroll.
Shove that Pulitzer Prize square up your ass.
I'm so happy.
I'm as best as you're gonna get, ladies. So here you go. We have. Shut up!
Then it's not a four. Masturbatory bullshit. I get the joke now.
Hey,
Stupid,
kids.
wonderful thing. Yeah.
Here's some stickers.
Are you in the crosshairs of the woke mob?
To the bridge of Kazakh Doom.
What is happening in my mouth?
Pumpkin spice lattes.
I was the mark?
You were the mark, man.
You want to get high together? You want to drink?
Cinema.
Subterfuge, machinations. Wow.
Wow.
Cheers.
Cheers. Okay. All right. Well, welcome everyone to a brand new episode of 20 Years 4 Beers. We are a podcast dedicated to rewatching movies from at least 2 decades ago, while simultaneously enjoying a minimum of 4 modern beers. My name is Steve, and this is my big brother,
Tim.
And we are coming to you from just outside Minneapolis, Minnesota. We have just watched and recorded our episode on Kingdom of Heaven, the director's cut. And as usual, we sit down and discuss another film over another beer. So we refer to these as our happy hour episodes.
Hey, you guys. Happy hour is from 4 to 6.
On this happy hour, we will be finishing our Start the Year Off Right theme, or as I deemed it last time, or in our last episode, careful who you put in charge theme.
True.
And watching 2005's Good Night and Good Luck. The film is a look back to the 1950s as Senator Joe McCarthy and his communist witch hunt was in full swing. At the same time, some in the media chose to stand up against McCarthy and his fear-mongering cronies. Famed TV anchor Edward R. Murrow and his producer Fred Friendly were 2 such men, which just does not seem like a real person, by the way.
I know, it's a fake name.
Yeah. Good Night and Good Luck follows the relatively short period of time when Murrow chooses to go after the junior senator from Wisconsin to when McCarthy is finally silenced. The film is directed by George Clooney, written by Clooney and Grant Heslov, and stars David Strathairn, Clooney, Robert Downey Jr., Patricia Clarkson, Jeff Daniels, Tate Donovan, Ray Wise, and Frank Langella. Technically, Grant Heslov is also in it too, but he just sort of shows up.
Yeah, background.
Yeah, exactly.
The Attorney General's list does not and never has listed the ACLU as subversive, nor does the FBI or any other federal government agency. And the American Civil Liberties Union holds in its files letters of commendation from President Truman, President Eisenhower, and General MacArthur. Earlier, the senator asked, "Upon what meat does this our Caesar feed?" Had he looked 3 lines earlier in Shakespeare's Caesar, he would have found this line, which is not altogether inappropriate. "The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves." No one familiar with the history of this country can deny that congressional committees are useful. It is necessary to investigate before legislating, but the line between investigating and persecuting is a very fine one, and the junior senator from Wisconsin has stepped over it repeatedly. We must not confuse dissent with disloyalty. We must remember always that accusation is not proof, and that conviction depends upon evidence and due process of law. We will not walk in fear one of another. We will not be driven by fear into an age of unreason if we dig deep in our history and our doctrine, and remember that we are not descended from fearful men, not from men who feared to write, to associate, to speak, and to defend the causes that were for the moment unpopular. This is no time for men who oppose Senator McCarthy's methods to keep silent, or for those who approve. We can deny our heritage and our history, but we cannot escape responsibility for the results. We proclaim ourselves, indeed, as we are, the defenders of freedom wherever it continues to exist in the world, but we cannot defend freedom abroad by deserting it at home. The actions of the junior senator from Wisconsin have caused alarm and dismay amongst our allies abroad and given considerable comfort to our enemies. And whose fault is that? Not really his. He didn't create this situation of fear. He merely exploited it, and rather successfully. Cassius was right. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves. Good night, and good luck.
Come on, not my beer.
With our reactions and verdicts to the movie out of the way, we move on to the reactions to our beers that we drank while rewatching our subject movie.
And if you want to have sex with a disgusting bad brewer with a terrible attitude,
This is where we take a look back at our beers and give our expert ratings for our drinking buddies.
ugh, whatever. Hey, here's the truth.
This is Drinking Buddies.
Let's get weird.
Drinking Buddies, what do we got?
I had Surly Winterize Winter Lager. A nice, solid, kind of like darker lager option. I'm not sure what they put into it, but it's a great, like...
Dark.
Sure, we'll go with that. It's a 4 for me. Like it's a 1. Actually, we like really seek it out this time of year. Very, very
I don't
enjoyable.
think I've never had it. Nice.
I got plenty at home. You can buy it at Costco.
Yeah, I'll come right
quite
over.
a bit. And then slight theme.
There you go.
Steel Toe Descent.
Uh-huh. There you go.
They're a Descent Stout
Mhm.
that comes out this time of year. It's just super solid.
It's good. Yeah, it's
That's
good.
a 4 for
Yep.
me. It's really, really well done. I like that option from Steel Toe. What'd you have?
So I had 2 IPAs. I had a Montgomery Brewing IPA called Super Mash Bros. Their hazy IPA.
That's pretty good.
Really good. I mean, it's Montgomery, so obviously
Mhm.
it's going to be good. I've never had anything bad out of there. It's not amazing. It was a good hazy, though. You're kind of like,
Montgomery's
4 out of
fine.
5. Toppling Goliath then was my next one, and that was the Seismic Sioux, the triple IPA.
Oh, I saw that this week, and I was like,
Um,
ooh, I thought you had that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I texted you about it a couple
Mhm.
weeks ago, but then I had it for the podcast or for the movie. Very delicious triple, actually. It just kind of was just a little bit stronger version of a pseudo Sioux,
Sure.
like, or you know what I mean, the King Sioux.
Sure.
There was nothing about it that was, oh my god, amazing. Stood out. I mean, it was good, and it grew on me as I kept drinking, but it was also 11% triple IPA, so
Sure.
might have been why. But it still was really good. I had a 4.5 out of 5. So what do
Nice.
you got?
And then tonight we are having, which I definitely planned for this to happen, Castle Danger
Yes.
out of Two Harbors, Minnesota,
Mhm.
in honor of the director of this film,
Yes.
George Clooney.
Mm-hmm.
We're having the George Hunter Stout. Definitely planned.
Totally. Totally.
Serendipitous back into that. I like this one a lot.
I
It's
do
a
too.
nice staple. It's a 4
Yeah.
for me.
I'm not sure I've had it before, or if I have, I haven't, like, oh my god, I haven't
Yeah,
thought about it.
it's really just a solid
Yeah.
stout option.
Just stout. Like,
Yeah.
Just here's
Nothing
the
crazy, like
traditional
added, like yes,
stout. Nothing extra.
yes.
It's really good. I
Very
have
good.
4 out of 5 as well.
Nice.
So, very good. So thanks for bringing that.
If you guys were the inventors of Facebook, you'd have invented Facebook.
This is a social network
You don't have to be an intellectual property expert to understand the difference between right and wrong.
where we take a look back at the critical and fan reception from 2 decades ago.
Mark!
As usual, Tim takes point on this, so take it away, Tim.
You better lawyer up, asshole. Because I'm not coming back for 30%. I'm coming back for everything. $1 billion.
Wow. The IMDb rating is 7.4 out of 10. Chris Wagner
Wagner?
of Dallas Morning
Yeah.
News said writer-director Clooney prioritizes story and theme over sermonizing and tension, which is perhaps the film's most impressive feat. Bruce Newman of San Jose Mercury News said, rarely moving a facial muscle except to exhale smoke and brimstone, Strathern wonderfully channels Murrow's deadpan delivery style. And Roger Ebert gave it 4 out of 4.
Yeah.
The movie is not really about the abuses of Senator McCarthy, but about the process by which Murrow and his team eventually brought about his downfall. Some would say his self-destruction. It is like a morality play from which we learn how journalists should behave. Clooney's message is clear. Character assassination is wrong. McCarthy was a bully and a liar, and we must be vigilant when the emperor has no clothes, yet wraps himself in the flag. Certainly resonates.
Yeah. I agree with Raj on that one.
Academy Awards that year up for 6 nominations for art direction, cinematography, original screenplay, by Clooney and Heslov.
Yep.
Director, Clooney. Lead actor, Strathairn. And Best Picture that year. Winning none.
None. I mean, it kind of, like, part of me also thinks, like, it kind of did win one, only because Clooney wins supporting actor that year.
Sure.
You know, you're kind of like, maybe...
You got that.
Yeah, maybe we get there. So, all right, perfect. Thank you. We begin our discussion with our reaction segment that we call Spotlight.
This is Boston, and the church does not want them to be found. So, they are not there.
This is where we highlight and discuss our top takeaways of any kind from rewatching our subject film.
We've got two stories here. We've got a story about degenerate clergy, and we've got a story about a bunch of lawyers turning child abuse into a cottage industry.
If there were 90 of these bastards, people would know.
Maybe they do.
This is Spotlight.
They knew, and they let it happen.
What do you got, Tim, when to get started?
So, I must say, I feel like rewatching this, and I have not seen it, I think, since it came out. Like, it wasn't like, ooh, let's go watch like a black and white kind of critique on the McCarthy
Every time
era.
you do this, I'm always feeling like sad about my personal life because I'm like, well, I've watched this more recently because I got shit to do.
No.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like, only so much time I have. I will say, I do actually think watching it after Oppenheimer is
There's
kind of a nice
sort of
way
parallels. To
have this happen.
Yeah.
For, admittedly, obviously, I think Oppenheimer is a remarkably better film.
Yeah, well, you're not comparing these films. No. I love this film probably more than Tim does, but I am not going anywhere near Oppenheimer on this.
But I think as much as like a primer for the fervor at the time of taking like the Red Scare that McCarthy was going through and doing, I do feel like that helped better understand it.
Right.
Because somewhat to the detriment of the film, I do feel like it doesn't do enough to help really encapsulate what it was like for those maybe unfamiliar with that type of feeling of the 50s. Like, it does a job of like kind of like a high enough level.
Sure.
But it doesn't have any weight to me. And that's where I feel like I struggled the most with this film.
Okay.
Where it was like, oh, I mean, they have some archival footage and interesting things, but I never quite felt, even though I really appreciate when it first came out, like the kind of back and forth element of a journalist taking on a U.S. senator. What's the weight? It didn't feel in any way like the stakes were compelling to me. So it was interesting watching. I had such high hopes watching it again. I was like, man,
sure,
I'm going to be like, yes.
Yeah.
Feeling amazing, like rah, rah, rah. And it was kind of like, meh, okay. Yeah. So I was massively disappointed.
Okay.
Relative to what I remember seeing at the time.
So what you're saying is you're disappointed to your own assumptions of what you were going to react to the film?
I remember it being more biting and a harsher critique.
And I still think it is. If
I
you listen
feel like
I think if you listen to the words, it really is.
I feel like it's very focused, but it did not have the weight that I remember it having.
So I do agree in the sense of it doesn't have the weight. And the problem is the way they were filming this, the way they presented it, there was no way to do like what Argo did at the beginning, or would say like Miracle did at the beginning of its film, that gives you these like sort of
context.
This sort of montage to get me to the moment we're starting in. It does expect you to have the understanding of the world that we're getting into.
Yeah.
It's just it asks you to have this base of knowledge.
Sure.
So even though you and I have that base of knowledge, it does lose from a film watching standpoint. You do lose some of that of like, give me even the sort of general background.
Yeah.
So at the beginning, when he's at this sort of
like dinner,
Life Achievement Award or whatever, maybe they do something like that, right? So you have this sort of understanding of what it is. So
like a primer,
From a, I'm going to say primer. From a weight standpoint, I'll get sure. Yeah, I mean, like it's not going to hit home in terms of, because I think it hits home. And so I admit to my own recency bias of reading some books. I'm reading a book on Hitler, of all things, like Follow Me Here.
Sure.
And his charisma and this kind of stuff, and how it really, and it's not written as if the Trump era, it was written in 06, 08.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But you read it now in this modern perspective.
Yeah.
And so I'm already kind of in this sort of mode of something that was created before our sort of current situation and how it relates to that.
Yeah.
And that's sort of where I come at with this movie. It's not the filmmaker. The filmmakers they weren't talking about the modern, what we're talking about now.
Totally.
So, I don't think they felt the need to have some sort of some sort of background or whatever, because at the time it was like, we don't have another one of these right now, but we could. You know what I mean? Like,
sure,
we could have this, so watch out, versus we already have this and we got to watch out for it. So from a filmmaking standpoint, I think that's where, it would have been different had they done it like now.
I agree. Like, I was watching it thinking, like, don't critique it through a 20 years after lens where, like, oh man, I would take the Bush administration any day over the current administration.
Any other administration.
Like, absolutely. So I definitely know, like, a visceral reaction I had to the dumpster fire that is the current day was like, nope, I cannot critique it through that lens. My biggest critique was, and I'll get back to that a little bit later, like, as a critique of the Bush administration at the time was like, I don't think, and like you said, like, you're reading stuff like, having listened to, super lefty, Rachel Maddow, her Ultra podcast.
Yeah.
She has 2 seasons, one of like basically how the Nazis infiltrated, like,
she's got that book too
in the 40s.
Yeah.
And the second one is about the McCarthy. Like, you get a grasp of like the true terror that existed at the time, how really impactful it was.
Yeah.
Like, a senator killed himself because of the trauma of it. Highly recommend, by the way. I feel like, yes, knowing more after seeing this movie of what it was kind of really like at the time, seeing now this movie, nothing to do with our current state, was feeling like it just, it didn't land any punches for me that felt like, what are you trying to say here? So I have more thoughts, but like, it just felt like I was expecting, when I remember seeing it, thinking, yeah, this is hard hitting and really this like solid critique. Seeing it again through the idea of what I've known more about the Red Scare, I was like, man, you kind of like just were a bit limp in your critique. But I feel like kudos to the effort.
I disagree. I disagree. I think they did a great job at the time. And to your point of, I feel like at the time, like, if I remember it being hitting back then, that means it hit the way it was supposed to.
Sure.
If now it's not hitting the way it did back then, that's because I have a different view of 20 years ago than I did at the time.
Yeah.
Like, my view of the Bush administration now, to your point, is substantially different.
They were great.
Than what we're seeing now. And so it doesn't hit as a critique as it did before, the same way American Idiot, the album, doesn't hit the same way it did 20 years ago.
That's true.
It does not hit because at that time, these things were so, for our generation, unique. It was like, this is what we're talking about. And there's this revelatory thing. But then 20 years ago, or 20 years move on, and we realize that, boy, it can get worse. You think it can't get worse, but it sure can. So I can't. So to your point of like, I don't want to look at it through a modern lens. I also don't want to critique it that it doesn't hit the same way it did 20 years ago, because a lot of shit doesn't like hit the same way it did 20 years ago. Because
but the 20-year-old,
we were in a different place at the time.
We were, but knowing now, like at the time, what they were clearly trying to offer, which was a modern at the time, like call to action, using something that happened back in the 50s as the catalyst. That's where I feel
clearly
like
didn't work.
Truly, yes, exactly. But I feel like it doesn't land in the way that I think Clooney was hoping to have it land, knowing like the true relative terror that was existing in the 50s to what was portrayed on screen. It just feels like a very sanitized critique to me with the film.
Okay.
With something that I really actually value and appreciate, but it was like
right.
the
It
core
just
of it
didn't
was
hit
like
the same way. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Didn't hit for you. It did for me.
Yeah.
I think so. Just off. Moving on.
We'll go. We'll go through it.
The thing I really, I'm going to gush a little bit about this movie. I can understand where some of the critiques lie. Number one, I love that opposite of Kingdom of Heaven we just saw, it's an hour and a half.
Like, see, I actually would love more.
I would have liked more, but what I'm saying is, we have an idea of the story we want to tell. We're going to tell it. And we're going to be done. Like this is what we wanted to do. And so I like though that I think they lay it out pretty well. I actually think they lay it out pretty good, like a legal case. They do. The first one, the very first time they choose to go for the military, the soldier.
Yep.
And that sort of leads into going after McCarthy. Like they're saying we can't get to McCarthy without starting this sort of like layered thing. I get that you could have had another 20 minutes in there and maybe done some more in there.
Yeah.
I think they do a good job of laying out their case. It's just really wordy. Like,
sure.
It's just, like, I remember there's a few times I had to be like, rewind.
Yeah. What happened?
What just was said right now?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I like that they, I like that they get to the point. Like, they're kind of like, this is the case we're trying to present. It presents it like a legal thriller almost. Like, they kind of, we're doing this like it's a court of public opinion.
Sure.
I thought they did a good job with it personally. To the point of, I would like more. Like, I could have used another 20 minutes. I love this movie. I could have taken more of what they were presenting.
Sure.
But I like that they still were saying, we're going to present this in such a way that it's like a legal thriller. Like, it's kind of like that.
What I would love to
out.
like, so again, it's hard to like say, I don't like the vibe you were going for, George.
I literally have, I love the vibe.
I mean, that's the vibe they're going for. So it's
Yeah.
hard to say like, what were you doing? I think clearly the vibe was, let's have it feel for a modern audience where it's somewhat pre-internet, but we are getting into the world of 2005, like exploring an online world.
Mm-hmm.
What it must have been like in the 50s with like the musical interludes.
Yeah.
That they intersperse throughout this thing.
Yeah.
Which on the one hand, I feel like is a great homage and kind of respect to his aunt, Rosemary.
Yeah, Rosemary,
like, I get it. Like, kudos to you. Like, have at it. I could have completely done without it. In a sense of the vibe, great. That's what you're going for. If, however, the crux of it is this, integrity matters, honor matters, standing up to bullies matters, cut it all and replace that 20 minutes with more story, background, development. Give me more of like some of the heft to like what Murrow might have been grappling with, or who knows what, like with some other characters. Give me more where it didn't feel like it. I was really kind of left wanting more, honestly. Like an hour and 27 minutes. I paused it when that movie ended.
Yeah.
I don't mind. Like, if you can tell a great story now, we watch Phone Booth. Like, that story kills for the time it is. And I don't have to have like a 3-hour movie. Like,
no,
it's an arbitrary critique.
Yeah.
I would say it left me wanting far more. Like, I want to know more about the married couple and what they're grappling with. I want to know more about kind of the, struggles that these people were having with how do we handle potential like congressional oversight and like all these slings and arrows from a super powerful entity. I don't need this woman singing in the side.
This is background music, man.
Sure. Put it as background music, but cut that. I just like, I don't know that it added for the critique. It added to the vibe.
Yeah.
Absolutely the
But
vibe.
if the music had been there without you seeing her sing, would it have been different?
I can give a little bit of like...
It would have been, she was singing, and then, but let's say it was just the
There's
song.
like a 3-minute
were,
segment of her singing.
That's fine. Okay, God forbid. But I'm like,
But
if
it
it had
cuts
just
away
been
from-
that song and people were just working in a montage, would it have been different?
I would take that as far as here's the vibe in the world that we're living in.
Yeah.
Where these news, like CBS, for example, is not just the news.
Right.
It is this larger entity of what they're trying to portray. Have that happen with some montage things or a background to some dialogue or the details. But to have it probably like 4 or 5 times where this woman's singing, it was like you could have cut that completely, like maybe once or twice to add the vibe and then have more added in for like, who is Murrow? Like his amazing story in World War II, like being a newscaster there. It just felt like I didn't know that Clooney could articulate for me what he was wanting to tell. Are you going for a vibe? Or are you going for the critique? Are you going for the behind the scenes? Or are you going for it all?
Were you listening to the words that Clooney and them wrote? Like, that's the vibe they're going for.
The music?
The screenplay. Like, what do you mean the vibe? Like, the music aside from, like the story wasn't about Murrow and his past. The story was about that sort of, like, time and place.
Sure.
And how it relates to the modern time. So, like, the screenplay is actually really well done. And, like, there's music in the background, but I'm just kind of like,
if the story
you're
is
about like 10 minutes of a hour and a half movie, I get is a good percentage.
A lot
but
of time wasted.
I don't think so, because I think it was really good. But I was just like,
if the critique is journalists should stand up to bullies, what does the musical interludes add to that story?
well, yeah, but that was my
struggle.
If you're gonna start talking about a random part of any movie that doesn't quite go to what the whole point of the movie was, there's not a single movie that could stand up to that critique.
Sure.
Every movie has some sort of thing that exists in it that builds the world. Like, this is the world they were in, right? They're done with the news, and then there's because it's on radio at the same time, there's the music in the background or whatever.
But
like, I don't quite understand why that's such a huge critique in the world of, like,
it's an hour and 27 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
You could have had much more.
Yeah.
Give me 20 more minutes. I actually wouldn't mind the musical interludes if it was interspersed with like something of tension or intrigue or weight or some type of like struggle for these characters more fleshed out. Like, it's a lot of glances, a lot of hints at things, which is very subtle. I get it. But I mean, give me an hour 47. I'll work with that. And I wouldn't have cared about the interludes. But I'm like, you wasted like 10 minutes of these interludes when you could have.
Then I wonder if you would have
been.
been like, I don't like the interludes, and you could have been 10 minutes shorter because of it.
If I was compelled by the story,
like, yeah,
it
I don't
felt
know.
like, I feel like, I'm invested. It was like an hour and 27. Nothing happens. in this
So,
movie.
like, I think maybe, and this is where I think maybe we're coming at this from different places, is that, which is fine.
Sure.
I wasn't here for the story. I was here for the message, right? Like, I'm
sure.
I wanted the message they were trying to send versus I personally didn't care about the story of, because I know some of it. I'm not like, oh my God, I'm not a Murrow historian or anything like that. But like, I knew enough of it to care enough.
Yeah.
But I was not going into this movie wanting any kind of emotional connection to the characters. And maybe, you know, that's not what I wanted. I wanted the critique. I wanted the sort of social understanding of the social critique of the time and what that means for now. And if I want that, I don't care about the characters.
Sure.
If you wanted the characters about the married couple and things like that, or you know what I mean? Like, so I think that's more the difference in coming into a movie of what you want matters, right? Even subconsciously, I was just like, what am I ready to connect right now?
Yeah.
And I was going into it like, and I watched it probably 5 years ago. I've watched it
Sure.
more recently than you have, you know, so I have the benefit of that too.
Yeah.
But I'm also I think I was like ready for the words, like really trying to like listen to the words of what was on the page and what they were trying to say versus what was happening with the people at the time in the movie. You know what I mean? I didn't care about Murrow. I didn't care about Friendly. I didn't care. And for me, I was fine with that. For you, that's a detriment because you didn't care. Right? Like you didn't care what was going on with these characters, and that's a bad thing for you. And I didn't care about what was going on with the characters because I didn't want to care about them. I was more interested in something else. So maybe that's where we're coming at this from a different place.
It could be because I feel like for me, Clooney wrote this with the
co-wrote it.
Sorry, co-wrote it with the intent of critiquing the Bush administration's "you're either with us or against us" rhetoric.
Yeah,
Patriot Act, post 9/11. Terror, what's happening in the world as we are grappling with, you know, a failing war in Iraq.
Mission accomplished.
True. Sorry, I forgot about that. You know, thinking that was, I truly believe that was the goal. That Clooney was like, how do we take something that was suppressing dissent?
Yeah.
And take it not through a current lens, but use a historical perspective for that. And so let's go back to arguably like probably the most idealized version of a journalist taking down, like speaking truth to power.
Yeah.
And that's what Murrow's history is. Cool. Let's do that. And then it's like, well, but what? It felt like painting with broad brushes to me. And I was like, well, what are you hoping to accomplish with this? In the sense of, okay, it worked for Murrow. Are you hoping journalists of the day back in the mid 2000s would like stand up and rise up to the occasion and say, yes, integrity matters. Rise up to this. It just felt like I could have absolutely used an hour and 45 minutes of that type of like, I mean, I think of like,
I absolutely agree. I would like more.
I would have loved more
for sure. I'm not
and that's
disagreeing
what, like,
with that.
I think about All the President's Men.
Sure.
Like that was a fantastic movie.
Yeah, it's a couple hours. Yeah.
And it's just like, wow, showing what it means for a journalist to kind of, again, somewhat apples to oranges comparison, but it felt really flat to me watching it now, like irrespective of the dumpster fire of the political landscape. Now, it was like, what is this that you're trying to tell?
But that's where
me?
I'm a little confused in that you talk about how you don't want to judge it through a modern lens and you want to look at it as, but we all remember this hitting home at the time. Like it felt at the time like a scathing review. It felt at the time like it was in reviews. It wasn't like we felt that way.
Oh yeah.
So like it clearly hit back then if we have that memory.
Yes, it did.
Just because now it doesn't hit that way, it's like, so I'm not going to judge it through.
But we talk about movies all the time where it doesn't hold up.
No, I see, but I think it does. And I think if you listen, see, for me, if I look at what they're saying, and especially segue, when he sits there and he decides, when Murrow says it's time for me to do this, when he's sitting, it was Jeff Daniels, Murrow, or it's Murrow, Daniels, and Clooney. I don't know why I mixed the characters there, but
it's all good. Yeah,
Strathairn, Clooney, and Daniels. And he says, I simply cannot accept that there are on every story two equal and logical sides to an argument. Hello.
Yeah.
Right now, all it is right now is, two sides to your argument. My truth is totally
alternative facts.
I believe exactly.
Yes.
Like I sat there going like, fucking A, man.
Oh, it
absolutely.
Yes.
And so to watch somebody be able to stand up and say there aren't, like, it isn't about balance. It isn't about, like, there are just some things that are about right and wrong.
Fair doctrine.
Yes.
Oh,
and I sat there and then I was like, and then at the end, his very last thought, when he talks about TV, which at the time would have been probably about the early onset of the internet, and now is 4 fucking sure about
Yes.
social media.
Yes.
He talks about this instrument can teach, it can illuminate, and even inspire, but it can do so only to the extent that humans can use it towards those ends.
Sure.
And you're like, yeah, we are reliant upon these things. Like, everyone loves to blame social media. Everyone loves to blame, all the media and all this stuff. Humans are to blame for all of this.
We are driving it.
And I still think that's relevant today. I still think that is in a different manner of what they meant it to be at the time.
Yeah.
So on one level, I agree with you. It doesn't hit the same way it did back then.
Yeah.
It does not. But I really have grappled with the kid on social media and what that, the sheer amount of falsehoods and lies that are out there.
Totally.
And I go, yeah, man, like, this is so, it hit differently for me. I think is what we're finding here.
And I like the element in the how they portray Murrow is really well done.
Sure.
Like, they don't aggrandize him. They don't lionize him.
He is not he is
He's not like, this is going to, and despite the fact that I think Oppenheimer is amazing, it definitely is like warts and all, but also like, this is a larger than life character. Like, kudos to like knowing what they're going for, but sure. Like, I do respect Clooney not having this be like a biopic of Murray.
No, there's no background. There's a few mentions of his time in the war and things like that.
And like, so I would have liked, I would say I would like a little bit more of like his kind of maybe taking what he maybe learned in World War II from a like fascism lens and like portraying, like, fine, whatever.
I think Clooney makes a very different film now.
I
If they're
agree.
making this now, it's a
it's
very
the second
different film.
so like he's very much like figuring it out.
Yeah.
So I'll give him that latitude.
Yeah.
But I like that, like a great line where, Murrow says the line between investigating and persecuting is a very fine one.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a really great, like, modern lens, but also, yes, at the time, what they're trying to accomplish. And I do think it is a very understated portrayal of Murrow and what really works for the film. So again, I don't have a problem with the film overall.
It just didn't hit.
I was
the way
expecting
you were
more
hoping
like
more.
resonance for me,
I think,
and I was like,
I think you were hoping it would hit the way it hit for me.
I agree. I was like, yes,
yeah, exactly.
like rah,
Yeah,
take on the world of like integrity and true values.
I
And I was
paused
like,
it multiple times, like, fuck, what? And
I was
I had
like,
like write
meh.
down what I just heard.
That's fine. But I do like that they juxtapose the fake stuff, if you will, with the archival footage.
Yeah.
Like, kudos. Like, so two things I really think that Clooney did well is the black and white throughout.
Yeah, I was gonna
Not have it be jarring of like color in the archive footage, and then not recasting McCarthy.
Yeah,
by somebody else.
Yep, these are his words.
Like,
they did exactly what they did on
that show the audience.
We are only going to show his words.
His
It's what
true
modern
nature.
audiences need to listen to what T-Money is doing and just be like, this. I'm not paraphrasing him.
No,
here is what he said.
Don't sane wash this shit.
Yes.
Yes.
Like, that's what like modern audiences need to do.
Yes.
So yeah,
I do think some stuff definitely was a great choice for me with what Clooney was trying to get across.
Yeah.
So, but to that end,
go
I
ahead.
think Strathairn as Murrow is so. Sorry, I'll come back to
good.
him.
I assume you're going to say
He's
good.
so
Okay,
good.
we're going to come back to him.
Okay,
I'm going to talk about the technical aspects real quick because I have a few different points that go into that. Black and white is key to this.
Yes.
It's key.
Yes.
Similar to we watched Quiz Show last year. Quiz Show is the same era.
Yep.
It did not need to be in black and white. It
No.
didn't need, but the black and white in this was crucial.
Because of the footage.
It just wouldn't. It would have not worked. It would.
Totally.
It was key. But beyond that, the use of the technical sets, the live feeds on set, the same way.
Yes.
Like, it felt like a play.
Chaos behind the
If
scenes.
this were a play, like if they made this into a play, which
they are doing on Broadway.
that, they're right. Yeah,
Yep.
isn't he doing this
It's,
on Broadway?
Clooney is Murrow
Yeah,
next
I'm
month.
like,
Yes.
isn't it? Yeah, I was like, aren't they doing this soon?
Yes.
It's a great play.
Yeah.
It's a great stage play.
Very much so, yeah.
And so like, kudos to them to figure that out and also fill in those seats for a little while. No score throughout the whole thing is a really technical choice.
Yep.
Except for the music that you can't stand. And
it didn't add anything. Not that.
I think just from a technical achievement standpoint, it was up for cinematography because black and white typically gets you there.
Yeah.
In modern Oscars, but it's a beautiful film.
Yeah.
It's really well done. The amount of the cigarette budget must have just been huge.
Exactly.
So yeah, technical achievement wise, from beginning to end, you feel like you're watching almost a documentary from like the early 60s that's looking back a few years on what happened. Really well done from a technical achievement standpoint.
Yes.
So go ahead and talk about Strathairn.
So he is just so solid. And I have a soft spot for Strathairn after like Sneakers and River Wild.
Whistler.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, he's so great in truly everything
he does. Yeah.
But to embody this character, like, there isn't like a dramatic streak to him.
No.
There's no like grappling with the weight.
No.
So I recognized before, I was like, I want some weight,
to
but
end. Yeah.
Like, with what he's given, he does a great job of showing this like just steady every man in the face of like, we're just gonna give the facts.
Yeah.
And portray this person as he's been, like, give him his own
through his words.
Yeah, hoist him on his own petard and work with that. So I do think, yes, like at the very least, he's great.
At the very least.
I have no problem with the other people like around them. They're fine. They're just well-known actors.
I think everyone's good. Actually, I'm going to talk about somebody else here in a second. But I will say, Strathairn is, and I wonder how much, I think at the time, Murrow was almost a larger-than-life figure that nobody knew anything about.
No.
And I don't think this movie would have changed that whatsoever. But they really had to have resisted the temptation to give him an Oscar baity speech.
Yeah, like some big,
you know. But his monologues are outstanding.
True.
They're like, the words are great. Like he is so good in this.
He is very good.
I wanna shout out though Ray Wise.
Oh, true.
I will say, you want to talk about other performers?
I'll give you that.
Surprise. Yes. And he plays Don.
It's basically like the newscaster to follow.
Yeah, the follow guy, the follow-up guy. Real life person, and I should have written his like name down in terms of the real life person. But Ray, he's been in lots of stuff you've seen. You recognize him. He's always a bad guy, or he's always kind of the weird, smarmy, whatever. He is outstanding.
He's like heartbreaking.
Yes, like he is outstanding.
Yes,
every time he's on, you kind of think he's a useless character until the end, when you kind of realize that it hits home that he takes his life. Yeah, I got to shout out Ray Wise. Yeah, like Strathairn is obviously what to watch this for sure. And Clooney's fine. I mean, not fine in a bad way. Clooney's good. Yeah, he does exactly what he's supposed to do. He's George Clooney.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ray Wise, you're kind of like, what is the purpose of this character, and why is he like sort of this like almost suckerfish on, you know?
Yeah.
But you can just see it in his eyes. He is just dying inside, like for all of the little needles that are poking at him through the press. It is just killing him.
Well,
you can see it. It's such a good performance.
Well, his character to me is such a great like opposite of Murrow, where history has painted Murrow justifiably, in a great lens of like he spoke truth to power and took down someone that was awful, and ruining people's lives. What happens, however, when someone else takes up that same charge? So early in the movie, he's like, yes, I fully support whatever Murrow's doing. And everybody else sees that, or he gets critiqued of it, of just riding the coattails of that.
Yeah, he's always been his follow-up.
And what happens if someone, like Murrow was like, I don't give a shit. I will suffer these slings and arrows. And I will take it on. Not everybody can do that. And so what happens when a character, like Ray Wise's character, who is a prominent figure, or could be that, cannot handle that pressure. And I think I agree.
And he goes to him for help.
Murrow
He says,
like,
"I want to
please.
go after O'Brien."
Yes.
And he's like, "No, I can't.
Murrow's like, that's not our
can't
fight.
do two. I can't do two at the same time."
Yeah.
And he understands, but he also like it kills him.
Yes.
Literally in the end.
So I really like the subtle nature of that, where it's a carrion cry of Clooney be like, yes, rally forth and take on these powers. But also, there's also a cautionary tale of
right. There's
not everybody can do that.
Yeah, there's cost. Like
yes,
there is actual cost.
Yes,
there's human cost to this.
Yes, that weight came through as far as like, oh God, what
Ray Wise does a great job. Like he does a good job.
Face,
yes,
and I will say some of the subtle stuff between like seeing the critique being read in real time, impacting his character. And a cut
of
to
all
Strathairn.
of all the people they cut to, it's Ray Wise and Strathairn.
Yeah.
Like those two.
And he's
like,
watching him.
He's watching him.
Like crumble in real time. Yeah, I agree.
I was like, man,
it's
like what without having moments to say anything.
Yes.
Like, oh man, they do a really good job with that. And I want to. Do you have anything else?
I have a thing around just a quaint idea. What a wonderful world it was when corporate and editorial were separate. And had autonomy.
And were they ever?
Like such a wonderful idea.
Yeah, before the 80s when you couldn't have commercials on. You could have ads, but you couldn't have commercials.
Yeah. I get that it's supposed to be an analogy for people trying to live their lives, but then hiding something that it might be found out. I don't see the benefit of the married coworker story. Like with Downey Jr., and
I feel
Clarkson.
like
it was like a vibe thing of the 50s.
At the time.
This was a thing.
I think it was the sort of thing that was happening at the time.
But it was like, meh. Like the worst case scenario is someone gets fired, they find a different job, juxtaposed with, I don't know, like this woman being like grilled by the committee for her life being torn apart. And so it again, things that like, it doesn't add to the story to me. I could have done without it or like, do something else with it. But I get what they're going for.
Back to Strathairn, I will say, like, I got nothing off of what you were saying. Already, I will say, like, looking forward to the end of our year, if this is what we got, because you have,
sure,
Seymour Hoffman wins for Capote, you got Ledger for Brokeback, you got Joaquin for Walk the Line,
and
then Strathairn. Like, already, you're kind of like, bro, if Strathairn loses, like, he's really good in this.
He is.
And I remember thinking he was going to win. But the only thing I will say, and I think you disagree with this, or maybe you don't, I think this screenplay is really good. I think this screenplay is really tight. I think it's really well done. I think they get their point that they wanted to across.
Yep.
And these monologues from Murrow, and I'm assuming they're mostly taken from real life, but still, my God, it's a biting, really well done. Like, you gotta think your way through. We quoted some stuff already on them. I think that screenplay is really good. And when you think about how Crash wins original screenplay, go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
like, come on. Like,
that
Crash
is true.
is like, if you start to look at the other, I didn't write them all down, but you go, this is up for original screenplay. This is substantially a better screenplay than Crash is. Like, you can criticize what you want about this movie, but this is a better screenplay. Like, just from a writing standpoint, you want Best Picture gives you the story as a whole, and maybe that doesn't hit with you as it does me. But this screenplay is tight. It's well written. It does exactly what it means to do. It gets its point across. It is really well done. And it's way better than Crash. Like, give me a freaking
Crash
break.
is so ham-fisted and so like, oh my God.
And I like Paul Haggis as a writer, but we
just talked about with the
Million Dollar Baby. But this screenplay is way better than that.
Yeah,
Like,
and my critique
give me
is,
a break.
Yeah, I should say I really value what they accomplished. I would have loved more. So,
I would have too,
critique.
but I would have too, because I loved it, and you would have too, because you were like, I want more from a critique standpoint.
Give me
it's
a
weird
bit
little
more.
like I would have been like, yeah, give me more.
Like, I would have loved 20 more minutes. Ugh.
Oh God, he says like it's bad.
I was surprisingly disappointed by it.
All right, get over it.
I'm going up there, I'm going to try it, I'm going to let the jury decide.
As we close out our spotlight segment, we come to our final takes called The Verdict.
If we are to have faith and justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
This is where Tim and I give our final verdicts after rewatching the film and decide whether or not the movie held up over the course of 2 decades.
Now you get out of here before I call the bailiff and have you thrown in jail.
This is The Verdict.
I said to hell with it, to hell with it.
A well-intended critique of the importance media has in fighting truth to corruptive power. Good Night and Good Luck, just unfortunately, to me, could not figure out what punches it wants to throw, so that all the efforts they make fail to land or hit with any kind of impact. Surface-level characters surround the larger-than-life figure of Edward R. Murrow, and no disrespect to Strathairn, he's fantastic, yet without any insight into the man besides what one could find looking through maybe a Wikipedia page. I honestly didn't really care that much about anyone or what was happening. Despite being hailed by so many at the time, the movie, to me, does not hold up these 2 decades later, because it is neither biting nor specific enough in its criticism. Yet, for the craft, I'll give it 3 out of 5 for that, but the end result is far too short, and I was left wanting so much more. That's me.
Well, don't tell me that history cannot repeat itself. Somehow, what was already at the time a warning sign is today a giant red flag waving in our faces. Good Night and Good Luck is a wonderful examination of the past, but also a not so subtle reminder to us of what can happen today if the powerful are not held in check. The film reminds me of not only how great movies can be, but also serves as a reminder that while we have freedoms in this country, we are not free from sacrifice, consequence, or repercussions from our actions, especially the noble ones. Bolstered by over a dozen great supporting performances, especially from Ray Wise, and 2, I think, top-notch leads, but in particular, Strathairn, Good Night and Good Luck reminds me of what those in Hollywood can do when they really try, and that is create art that truly affects. 20 years later, it is somehow more prophetic and chilling than ever. I say see it again and really listen to what they have to say. I have 4.5 out of 5.
The exciting quiz program, 21.
Our final segment of the episode is Quiz Show.
I've stood on the shoulders of life, and I've never gotten down into the dirt to build.
Where in our research for our subject film, we find some interesting trivia nuggets that we hope will stump the other and possibly intrigue you.
This is not McCarthyism. You're not here to expose for the sake of exposure.
This is Quiz Show.
Well, evidently certain of the contestants were given the answers in advance.
Cheating on a quiz show. It's like plagiarizing a comic strip.
All right, so I have 2, you have 3. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
I'll go.
All right, what do you
got? So Jeff Daniels.
Yes.
In this.
Yes.
We've covered him a few times in the pod before.
Yep.
He can seemingly do everything to me. Comedy, drama.
Effortless, right?
Like,
he's just effortless.
He's just like one of the most versatile actors.
Stop it.
Comedy, drama, action, good guy, villain, small role, big part. Yet he had his big breakout role in what James L. Brooks, 1983, Best Picture winning drama.
Is it, oh God, is it Terms of Endearment?
It sure is.
Hey,
nice.
Yay.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yay. I hit the wrong button again, but I
So
get the
yes.
ding.
Yeah.
There we go.
Nice.
I've never seen that film, actually. Have you?
No, I have not.
I have no real interest in it.
Right? I'm like,
Yeah. It's like, okay,
maybe.
cool. Whatever. Okay, so the character Palmer Williams was portrayed by Tom McCarthy. Do you know who that is?
Do not.
Cool, good. This was the man who tried to excuse himself. Like he said, like, hey guys, I gotta, my ex and that kind of thing.
Yep.
So Tom McCarthy is actually an Oscar-winning writer-director.
Okay.
Of what Best Picture winning film in the same vein as this?
Oh my gosh. He wrote and directed it?
He wrote and directed. He won for writing. He was a director. It won for picture. He lost for director, and he wasn't a producer.
Argo.
No.
Okay.
Argo would be Ben Affleck.
That's true.
You were
He directed
close
that.
in the
Yeah,
sense
good.
of that's not Ben Affleck at all.
He
But
did
okay.
direct that. Okay.
But you're also close, kind of in the same general area. Really good movie. We talked about it. Tom McCarthy.
I'm drawing a blank.
Spotlight.
Oh my God, that's right. Totally Spotlight. I do see his face. When
Writer
he was
director of Spotlight.
accepting it.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah, he also, oddly enough, he was a co-writer of Up. So there you go.
Wow.
And he also wrote and directed The Station Agent, starring who?
Peter Dinklage.
And
Patricia
Clarkson.
Nice.
Jesus, in this
yes,
movie.
in this movie. Yes.
Yes, it's Peter Dinklage.
I
Not
mean,
even in
he's
this
the
movie.
main
I'm
character,
saying
but sure.
he's in this movie.
Yeah. I mean, you're much
Yeah.
more woke than I am for the woman, but yeah. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
I was wondering, like, where have I seen
Yeah, I
this
know,
dude
right?
before?
Yeah, you're kind of like, he's out there. He's been around. He's done a whole lot of stuff. He's actually,
It's good. Frank Langella, who plays the CBS boss
Yes.
in this.
Yeah.
He's been nominated for 1 Oscar.
Yes.
For his lead role in 2008 political drama?
Frost Nixon. Is it Frost Nixon or
Frost Nixon?
Yeah, yeah.
With Michael
Sheen.
Yeah,
From. Is that? I thought
yeah.
that too. I was like,
I was like, oh my God.
Here we go.
That's a really good movie.
Yeah, I love that movie. Well, when was the last time you've seen it? It might not hold up.
Don't do that. No. It stands the test of time. It's so good. Well done.
Boom, zinger. So you mentioned just now. You mentioned the phone scene.
Yeah.
Right, with the page or whatever.
Yes.
Did you catch? Did you catch who the CBS page who shut off the phones and didn't, put them back on? His credit is actually CBS page, but if you listen to the movie, they actually call him Simon, which is funny. Somebody says, Simon, turn on the phones, even though he's credited as CBS page. He's Simon Helberg, who would play Howard Wolowitz in one of CBS's biggest comedies of all
he's
time.
Big Bang Theory.
There you go.
I'm like, I do remember him from that. Yes,
he's barely in this thing, and I was like, Wolowitz, and I don't even particularly like Big Bang Theory, but I was like, that's Howard Wolowitz.
That's
right
the guy.
There. And I just laughed that they called him Simon. Somebody said Simon, turn on the phones or whatever.
They're
It's
like,
like
whatever.
he's not even credited as Simon.
Yeah.
He's just CBS page.
George is like, keep it in.
Yeah, Simon.
I love it. So the title of the film
Mhm.
comes from Murrow's signature sign-off statement.
Correct.
However, he actually took this phrase from someone else who had used it in their first ever radio broadcast to the nation at the age of 14 in October 1940, following the London Blitz, when he was there, and said, I want to repurpose it and take it, and they were cool with it. From which future British monarchy did he take this phrase?
The monarch or whatever?
They were 14
I
in
know,
1940.
but is that Queen Elizabeth?
It sure is. At the time, Princess Elizabeth.
Yeah, but
Yes.
I mean, okay, all
Queen
right.
Elizabeth, yeah.
I was trying
she
to think
said-
of King's Speech and like King,
Right?
whatever he is, because I was thinking, but he wouldn't have said that. So, where did she say it?
She said like it was a video of her and her sister, like basically
Huh.
expressing well wishes to the nation
that
in
does
October
seem a
1940.
very
It said like
Queen
good night
Elizabeth-y
and to all of
thing.
you, good luck.
Yeah, that does seem very like
right,
cold and heartless.
Yes. Good night.
Somehow or another, Edward Murrow saying it sounds much more lifelike
Like
than
rallying,
Queen Elizabeth,
yes, than her being
was
like,
just like good night, good
Good
luck.
night and good luck.
Yeah, and
Yes.
everyone's like, oh God, like
Sure,
we're all
princess.
fucked.
Nice.
Anyway.
Good work.
Hey, all right. So that brings us to the end of the episode. Be sure to find all of our previous episodes on your favorite streaming platforms. And stay tuned for our first journey further back into the past, beyond 2005, excuse me. And we look at 2 classic films from 1990, Dances with Wolves and Goodfellas.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yes, that would also be our theme, 1990 films.
That's good.
It's a pretty easy one.
Yeah, that's good.
Find us on the web via the Metaverse, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads, and head to 20years4beers.com for more info. We want to say thank you for taking the time to listen and for clicking that like or subscribe button on your devices. This has been 20 Years 4 Beers. My name is Steve.
I'm Tim.
And thanks for listening.
Thanks. Descent.
There you go.
I don't like the vibe you were going for, George. That's
That I get is a good percentage,
a lot
but
of time
the
wasted.
I hit the wrong button again, but I hit.
So
I
good,
get the
yes.
ding.